Hello, Matt Heaton here, and this is kind of the second part of my A major chords video. On part one, we talked about a bunch of chords that could be done without involving the sixth string at all. So they were all basically variations of the three triads you can get on the second, third, and fourth strings. So there's your root position triad, this. There's your first inversion, and then there's your second inversion, or down there. So now we're going to talk about some bass note stuff. So if you need to go back and look at the other one, you can go back and look at the other one. But this is going to be about bass notes. So if we are going to play in the key of A major, I still like to start out here. I still kind of feel like the fifth fret as my sort of home position is the most useful. There is, of course, an A on the fifth fret of the sixth string. And if we were to just do a scale up that, we would start there on 1, and then you go whole step to 2, whole step, 3, half step, 4. Then it gets a little tricky. Whole step is 5, but that's, so we're going to jump down there because I don't want to be playing up here. 5, 6, whole step, 7, whole step, and then a half step brings you back where you were. So does that make sense? Instead of going, we go, okay? Now, there are, when you're going up and down these chords, there's you gotta think of which ones are major and which ones are minor. So the one chord is major. I'm gonna play bar chords for a second. There's one chord is major, the 2 chord is minor, the 3 chord is minor, the 4 chord is major. Now I'm gonna jump down. The 5 chord is major, 6 chord is minor, the 7 chord is diminished, but we're not really we're gonna do something else, and then the 1 chord. Okay, so you gotta have a good major and a good minor. So the A, you have a lovely major. For the minor chords, what I'm going to play is this. I'm going to play, it's a kind of a reduction of this kind of voicing. It's a minor 7 voicing. But all I'm going to play is second finger on the 7th fret. This is going to give me a B minor chord. 7th fret of the low string, muting the 6th string. Then also the 7th fret on the 4th string, that is the 7th note, so this is going to be a B minor 7 chord. Then the 7th fret of the 3rd string, and then open, open. That's a B minor. It's a B minor 7 with an E in it, but in my head I'm just thinking B minor 2 chord. So, and it works, and it's nice to get to from the A, because you can leave your 3rd finger down. See how I did that? They're common between the 2. So then, the 3 chord is minor. If you want to use that for the 3, you can also go use it for that with C sharp minor. And the other minor chord you're going to run into is the 6th chord, the F sharp minor. You can use it down here. Right? And then we need a major D chord up here. And I'm going to go to this one, which is the one that I use a lot. You can look at the D major video or the partial chords video, but it's 10th fret, mute, open, 11th fret, 10th fret, mute. And then you got to get to your E chord. So I'm generally not going to go up here. I'm generally going to either go all the way down or maybe somewhere else, which we'll talk about in a moment. Now, let me talk for just a second about the minor 3 chord, which is C sharp minor. A lot of times when you're playing a bass line, when you get to that 3 chord, you kind of have a choice. You can either play a minor 3 chord, or you can play a 1/3 chord. What I mean by that is, if you're playing, you can either so you're playing this note. You can either make that note the root of the chord, or you can make it it's an inversion of the 1 chord. Okay, this is an A chord here. Like that. I'll show you in G, it's a little easier to see. If I play G, and then I play G over B, you could also play B minor. Right? And when you start throwing the minor 7 in, they're not that different. But so here, if I were to play that, if I wanted it to be A over C sharp rather than C sharp minor, I would use this fingering. Now this is, it's the D over F sharp shape if it were down here, right? You play your D chord, 2-finger D chord, and then play your F sharp on the, get that a little better, you can see that. So D, just regular D, and then F sharp is down here on the 6th fret. I'm sorry, 6th string, 2nd fret. A lot of people might do that with their thumb. I don't. So okay, so that's great. You put it up here, but then it's got that clashy D, which sounds nice if you're in the key of D, but we're not. We're in the key of A. So here's what we need: we need this note. We need the A on the 4th string on the 7th fret. So we're going to refinger this. So from the bottom up, it's 2nd finger on the C sharp on the 9th fret on the low string, mute. Then 1st finger on the A on the 4th string, 7th fret. Then the ring finger goes on the 9th fret, 3rd string, and the pinky gets that gets the 10th fret on the 2nd string. So this is a great chord. It's movable. You could play. You know, if you mute that high E, this is a totally movable shape, which is real handy. It works well. You can play an F chord. There's all kinds of good things you can do with it. But the two things we're going to do with it in this are we're going to play A over C sharp, and it's also great for an E over G sharp. So if you wanted to do, you know, any kind of walk down, okay, so those are the basic shapes that I'm using in this area. Is the A, the 2 minor. Sometimes, because it's convenient, I might go to this one, which was it's a E7 with no 3rd. And then there's that. You could also do this without the high A, I guess. But I'm mainly concentrating on those bass notes. So how do you decide which one to play? It's up to you. You choose. It's usually not going to be like a big deal strong chord in most tunes. It's usually like if you've got a situation where there's 2 bars of A, you know, and you want to not just play the same chord for 2 bars, you know, if you're playing, if you have A, D, E, you can go A, right, or you can go that, and then going the sort of lower half. That's even kind of nice. You can do a 1, 6, 4, 5, A, F sharp minor, D over F sharp, G, I'm sorry, E over G sharp. So those are a few ideas of what to do with your 6th string. in this tuning, which is standard. Did I mention that? We're in standard tuning. What if you wanted to play around in drop D? Well, so then you can do the same sorts of things, but you're going to, with a slightly different approach. You're going to think of this, that's your major chord. If you want, you can either have this finger down, or I don't mind the B. And that's major, and then that's minor, right? So if they're 1 fret apart, these two are always going to be together. They're always going to be on the same fret because they're the same note, right? So it makes sense. If you play one here, you play the other one, they're the same note. And then on the 3rd string, that determines whether it's major or minor. So if you've got these two adjacent, 1 fret apart, that's a major chord. If you got them 2, then it's a minor chord. So major, minor, minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, E over G sharp, back to A. And then the whole thing I was discussing before about whether is this a C sharp minor or is it an A over C sharp? At this point it's kind of ambiguous because we're not playing all the notes. If you want it to sound strongly of A, you put your index or your ring finger down on the 10th fret. Now it is 100% an A chord. If you want it to be C sharp minor, you bar this here, or you can maybe even do a half bar, and then it sounds more like C sharp minor. But if I'm being lazy, I'm just going to do that and not commit to whether it is one or the other. If you hate the open B, you can either finger the note on there, or just kind of mute it. I'm letting the open E ring because we're in A major. So it's the same idea, and frankly the fingerings are a little easier in drop D perhaps because you don't have to worry about the fact that this string and this string would require a different fingering because they're the same note, right? Whereas in standard, that would get them to be octaves versus just being the same. So I hope that is helpful. I hope that gives you some more ideas about places to go in A major. And also it's a good way to sort of start thinking up the neck a little bit. The one thing I should mention, I didn't spend enough time on this, but just playing scales up and down the neck, very helpful. Just a major scale on one string is a super, super helpful way to kind of incorporate those higher positions. So just pick a key, pick a note. Here's an F. And then do this pattern. So you go whole step, which is 2 frets, and a whole step, half step, 1 fret, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. That's a major scale. There, now you know all 12 major scales on the guitar. You could start anywhere, apply that pattern, just go on up the neck until you get to the top, and there you have another major scale. So, okay, I'm signing off on the A major for now. See you next time in A minor. Take care. Thank you.